Hello, folks. Welcome to El Canal de Chano Jose. Today we got Luis here with us.
Hello.
And today we're going to show you a trick when you're using expanding foam, how to prevent the nozzle from leaking right when you screw it into this expanding foam comes in these cans. And we have one that is a liquid expanding foam just started shooting through the area where it's screwed on, right on this area. So these nozzles, you grab it and put it on and screw it on. And when you pull the trigger, it's supposed to come out in this area, this end on the nozzle. But sometimes this is what happens. So what happens? This
As you can tell, when it shoots through there and you get on your hands, it won't come off. If it gets on the surface, it won't come off. So
very messy.
very messy. So it says wear gloves and eye protection for a reason, because it's pressurized insulation. So
Yeah. And one thing also, if you're using it and you have applied it to a surface and you want to shape it, it's not going to be a good deal. You just want to let it dry, and you can cut it and carve it and work with it while it's dry. Because when it's wet, we just got it all over our hands. So like Luis said, you want to use gloves for this job. And if you have a surface that you don't want this stuff to touch, cover it up, because if it touches, it's going to be a mess with it. So to prevent this from happening, what we have done is we add some crazy glue to this nozzle right on this tip, and we screw it on, and it glues it to itself. So there's no movement, and it's not gonna loosen itself, because these spray cans, they're pressurized, and once you start using this, you want to finish it because it's gonna dry all over this nozzle. So these are what one
use deal. This one says you can reuse, but that's what it does. So it's basically one-time use and you're done. Even though if it's half full, whatever, use it all.
And one shot. So if you have a big job, you're gonna use one or two. Expect to the other one, if it dries up, you're not gonna be able to use it again. So these cans are one-time use. So we don't. They says it might be reusable nozzle or can, but once it dries, you can make that foam. Once it dries, it's really hard to carve it off of the can to reuse the can. So we're gonna be applying some crazy glue to this nozzle will come off. If it doesn't come off, then that means there's gonna be no leakage like it happened on this one, because once you start pressing the trigger, what happened?
Well, you thread it in and it has a stop, and you just press the trigger, and then the pressure pops the tip off, and then it starts leaking through there.
Yeah, so the pressure actually can create, if this nozzle starts getting too close to the wall, it builds pressure here and it starts coming out of here. So that can create a mess as well. So we're gonna put some crazy glue into this, and that should get the nozzle solid in there. So when you're maneuvering it and the nozzle twist, it won't spin from this area, and then you're paying attention of where the nozzle is going, but you're not paying attention of what's happening here. So if it loosens, you're gonna get all the mess out here. So once you glue it, and then you can twist the nozzle, and it won't make that mess that we just had on ourselves. So we're gonna do that trick. Now we have Luis, who's gonna be adding some crazy glue to this tip and screwing it back on, so that way it doesn't loosen itself, so it gets glue in, because we're gonna be using it in one job, and we don't want any of those leaks that happen on this one. As you can see, that can be a really messy for your hands. So now we just added glue to this nozzle. So we have glued that nozzle to the can, so we don't get that nozzle from spinning and getting a gap and loosening itself from there, from the can. And then we can get a mess created like we did on this one. So now this nozzle, we're just letting it sit so it can glue itself. So that way, when we are maneuvering this can, there's gonna be no mess coming out through this gap, because once you start maneuvering the can, this is gonna be solid into the can. Well, folks, we wanted to expose this info and this tip that we did about gluing that tip to the can. That way you don't waste your money on this product.
And well, that happened. We used that tip. We saved money. We utilize everything. As we can tell, we have about a quarter of a can that's trash because we can't do anything else now. So that's a great tip.
Yeah, so next time you start using these cans again, and you before you start pressing the nozzle, what you want to do is glue that nozzle to the can. That way, when you're maneuvering the can, that nozzle doesn't spin off, and then you get the glue or the expanding foam coming out through the nozzle and the can, and it builds up right on this area. So that way, it goes right into the work area. So because sometimes we're paying attention to where the nozzle is, and we don't pay attention that it's loosening itself as we spin or move the can around. And like Luis said, you don't want to waste the money, because these, how much are these cans? Like,
They're like $10 and they vary.
so, and when you're doing a big job,
Oh, when you use a big job or you use a couple cans, this is our fourth can, and we lost probably 2 cans maybe, and that
yeah,
was what, $10 maybe worth of material, and we could have finished our project and not have to use this one.
yeah. So just simple glue that you throw in that little nozzle, it will glue itself, and that way you avoid these problems, and that way you save money on your pocket. So thank you, Luis, for being on our video, and he's gonna be here more often. So he's gonna be working with us. For those folks who are watching our video, haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe. If you like a video, give us a thumbs up, share the video, and we'll see you soon with more videos here in el canal El Chano Jose.